So, with Biden in the lead in the crucial state of Pennsylvania, he is firmly in the driving seat to replace Donald Trump in the White House. However, if Trump is defeated, his populist movement is likely to live on. In what has been one of the most partisan elections in history, a key challenge will be uniting a fractured country. To discuss this, I'm joined by David Schultz, a professor in political science at Hamline University in Minnesota. Thank you very much for joining us here. Is that even a possibility that America can get united after what it's been through over the past divisive 4 years?
It's going to be very difficult to do that because we came into this election very divided and we walk out of it very divided. And the current president, Donald Trump, has not really sort of used any type of language in terms of being graceful or in terms of being a gracious loser. So it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot to heal not just the election wounds, but the deeper divisions in America. I mean, we really are almost like two nations, very separate and living in very different, I'm going to say, very different nations within the United States.
How do you enact that sort of change, though? Does it come from the top? Do you need to show that the political divide is coming together in order to get change moving down through society?
It's a combination of setting tone, but also it's going to be about public policy. And what people forget, for example, in the United States, some of the things that have been driving the division in the United States have been what? In the last 40 years, the gap between the rich and poor in the United States has reached levels that we haven't seen since the 1920s. Additionally, we've now started to see situations where we live. Democrats, Republicans live in very different areas. So we have a lot of public policy in terms of urban social welfare that also needs to come along with setting a tone from the top down.
Now, some of the division has been caused by the way that Donald Trump has acted while he has occupied the office of president. Just looking most recently to his actions over the past few days, his campaign launching these legal campaigns, the bids in several of those very tight states. Could that have an impact on how future elections are carried out in the US? Could this become the norm now, where elections just become very litigious?
It possibly. We already knew that before this election started, this was the most heavily litigated leading into the election. It's probably going to still be. This has been a trend building for 20 years since back in 2000 with Bush v. Gore in Florida. And this is just going to be a trend in the United States for a while. So I don't see it. I don't see it changing dramatically, but nonetheless, Trump has really exacerbated these divisions, has really run consistently a campaign aimed only at his base and speaking only to his supporters, and has never tried to reach out. And that's been a dangerous move that one hopes with the next president, if it were to be Biden, that we would move beyond that. But it's going to take a long time to set that tone again, to set that policy, and perhaps we're going to need to do some significant also election reform in the United States to address some of these problems too.
I imagine Joe Biden's got a lot on his plate at the moment, but just on the off chance that he's sitting here watching Euronews, what would you say to him if he's listening in order to try and bring America back together?
I think the first thing I would say to him, he needs to be reaching out to those who did not vote for him. And again, setting a tone of saying that, yes, you didn't vote for me, but you're part of my America. Much in the same way in the last presidential debate, he made a statement about that. I think he needs to do more of that, but he needs to do more than just talk. He needs to reach out with deeds and again, with policy that reaches across, but he also needs to get the Republicans in the Senate and in the House to also reach across the aisle too. And Joe Biden's instinct from 37 years in the Senate is to do exactly that, and will be put to a test as president if he's elected.
And just finally, just before I let you go, how much has this election, do you think, been a referendum on Trump's leadership?
It was all about Donald Trump. It's always been about Donald Trump. And that's going to be one of the challenges also, that the Democrats ran against Trump and it got him elected. Now the question is, can they take that anger against Trump and again forge it into public policy to do something?
Thank you so much for joining us there. David Schultz joining us from the US. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.